So I think that we're in an era where we're starting to move beyond the idea of corporate social responsibility as an add-on. It's sort of do your normal business and then try to do a little good on the side. I think that people are starting to realize that approach isn't really the right approach. It's not the most successful approach. And instead, we should think about integrating social thinking throughout all levels of business and really make it part of the DNA of any organization. So I think it's really important for business people to begin to address these ideas. Well, it should be both, and I'm in favor of capitalism, and I don't think it's necessarily either or. I think that there's an enormous and often unrecognized social good in simply providing customers with things they want at a good price and with good service. That's actually a very important part of society. And hopefully, if you're doing a good job at that, you're going to also make money, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that this social enterprise approach just takes that idea of customer service and considers it a lot more broadly. It sort of recognizes that your product is not just the bread that you're selling, but also you're embedded in a whole community and a whole variety of things going on, and that your customers want you to take some responsibility for that. Well, I mean, Wikipedia, I think, serves as a very interesting example of a new type of media property. And I think that it may also serve as an example of a new type of business model to some extent. I mean, we're now the fifth most popular website in the world, sustained by donations and, operating as a charity with a very, very tiny staff. I mean, it's really a bit hard to fathom that the number 5 website in the world employs only 25 people. So that's a pretty remarkable thing. Now, obviously, that's not going to apply to everything. We're a pure website, a pure information site. But I think it does point the way towards the value of these kinds of communications tools and how they can be leveraged for lots and lots of businesses. I mean, I think there's some really interesting things that have happened in terms of the speed with which global brand, particularly a social good global brand, can be established. Wikipedia is now known worldwide, along with a handful of things like Google and Yahoo, and that happened very, very quickly, and on an advertising budget of zero. And so you can imagine certain older brands that may not have such a socially responsible image. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, something like that, they may feel a little bit secure in that, how are you going to compete with Pepsi and Coca-Cola? I mean, you would have to spend, $1 billion in advertising to get the same brand recognition. Well, maybe not today. Maybe there are going to be new competitors who come up who offer a compelling value to consumers that's bigger and beyond just the product itself, because frankly, it's flavored sugar water in a can, and I love it, by the way. I'm not criticizing Coca-Cola, which I love very much, but it's not that hard to replicate the product. It's about the brand associations, what it means to people. Those things can happen very, very quickly today. I think what I would like it to say is that it is something that is fundamentally about business, and that we have moved away from the idea of thinking of it as some sort of lefty liberal hippie add-on to the serious business of business, but rather to say, actually, in an earlier era, people thought of social responsibility for business as something that you had to do for some add-on reasons. Now it's something that we really think is integrated into everything about business. I think I would say Craig Newmark. I think he's a really interesting guy and a very thoughtful guy who, it's one of these things, like I said earlier, there's an enormous social good in some things that seem very mundane. There's an enormous social good in that people can sort of for free say, I have this old couch, I don't know what to do with it, does anybody want it? And somebody comes and gets it, it saves everybody money, it prevents needless waste and things like that, and there's a huge amount of good that comes out of that. And Craig takes his role with a great deal of responsibility. He's a very thoughtful guy, and he's thinking really hard about his impact on the world, for better and worse. So he's very concerned about the decline of newspaper advertising revenue, which he knows he's a part of. But he's not the cause of it. He's just the guy who happened to be standing there when it happened. So he would be a great guy to win this award. I think that they should care about social enterprise because we're moving into an era where your brand image can be destroyed or enhanced very, very quickly. And you can't get away with being sloppy anymore. And so ethics is something that consumers care about. It's something that consumers have always cared about, but they couldn't do anything about it. Now they care about it and they can do something about it. And so you have to pay attention. That's really interesting. I'd like to know more. I'd like to follow up about that. Yeah, it's really great. I mean, this is part of the goal. I mean, the idea of Wikipedia is to create a free encyclopedia for every single person on the planet in their own language. And so I'm assuming in Uganda they were using the English version, but I'm excited too about the possibility of Wikipedia becoming available to people in their local languages, and that's starting to happen all over the world. We're in 175 plus languages now. I think it's really powerful, and I think that one of the things that we see happening everywhere in the world is that informal learning has exploded, even while formal learning hasn't really declined. Formal learning is, at a place like Columbia University is still going along just fine, the same as it ever has. But what is also happening is that people everywhere are able to put their fingers on the information they're curious about, just like that. And so this applies top to bottom, all across the world, and increasingly so. I mean, right now, you say they're using it in an offline version that's downloaded because they can't afford the bandwidth and so on. But already, they just recently I just read they've just dropped a new major line to Africa, and bandwidth is increasing there. Bandwidth prices are coming down there. Computer prices are coming down. Mobile is becoming increasingly of high quality and penetrating there. So all of a sudden, we're going to have, the next billion and then the next billion after that, people coming online, engaging with us in new ways. To me, it's a great time to be alive. Well, I mean, I guess what I would argue is, based on what I said earlier, is that I think that we will begin to see those distinctions be erased. But I think if, at this point, the thing that I think is really interesting right now is that this idea that I have that building a brand, a major global brand, can happen much more cheaply and much more quickly than before. And I think the fastest and most effective way to do that is by appealing to people at a deep, heartfelt, ethical level. And so there's huge opportunities, right? Normally you wouldn't say to an MBA first coming out, why don't you launch a soft drink company, right? Because they say, well, I mean, come on, that's, where am I going to get the $1 billion to do that? Today, hey, you know what? You can actually word of mouth marketing and all of these things. If you've got something that really means something to people, you can really make some fast inroads. And hopefully some of your buddies who aren't as interested in social matters, but they're going to go into private equity, hey, they're going to invest because they're going to see whatever, we don't care, we're going to make money because this is the way the world's going.